Today on Rookie to Rookie, going to make our way through the last couple of games before the winter break, and so far this season the Conference League has been a little bit of a cakewalk for us, but today that could change as we take on Atalanta from Serie A. Hello everyone and welcome to episode number 68 of Rookie to Rookie here on Shaun Does FM with Jahn Regensburg. I hope you're doing well and come up today. Going to make our way through these last couple of games before the winter break. Only one of them in the Bundesliga where we take on Köln, but either side of that got two home games in the Conference League, and the first one in particular, our first serious test so far in this competition as we take on Atalanta from over in Serie A. So hopefully you guys are looking forward to that coming up in today's episode, but it comes off the back of the games that we played yesterday. To be fair now, that was a little while ago. We took on Wolfsburg, of course, in the second round of the DFB Pokal. Now I remember that was a little bit of an FMing before the red card that we did cop, and then bit of a late comeback there to pick up a point at RB Leipzig. So if you missed that one, I'll leave a link to it over in the top right corner. As I suggested, our fixtures off the back of that were quite easy looking, and it has indeed been the case. We've played 6 games and picked up 6 wins in the Conference League. We went rugby style, 2 7-0 wins there first up at home as we took on Atalanta, and then a couple of games ago we went to Sepsi, another 7-0 win. That one was so comfortable we did not need to make a single sub. Obviously a red card there did help just shy of the hour mark, but to be fair, by that stage already had a 5-0 lead, so you could argue they actually got a little bit there of a 10-man boost. Absolutely cruising it so far through the Conference League, and probably more importantly, around those games, we've picked up 4 straight wins in the Bundesliga, 2-0 against Bochum and Union Berlin in between those games, and then off the back of that Sepsi one, 2-1 at Heidenheim, some late goals there to be fair, had to switch quite late to a 4-2-3-1, as the 4-3-3, despite some statistical dominance in that game, wasn't getting us any goals. The 4-2-3-1, thankfully, attacking got us 2 late ones there to pick up a win over bottom of the table. That would have been a little bit embarrassing if we did lose that one, but thankfully just did enough and then backed it up by going with the 4-2-3-1 from the start there when we took on Schalke and picked up a good 2-0 win. So we've picked up 6 wins from 6 since June last year. Bundesliga wise, it means we've actually jumped above Eintracht Frankfurt into 3rd spot. That could change when they do play their game in hand, but really a strong position inside a Champions League qualifying spot this season. And Conference League wise, which is the main focus first up in today's episode, we've already qualified for the knockouts in some form. We take on Atalanta, who have actually dropped points in their last game somehow. They lost at IK Sirius, who are also unbeaten. So not too sure what's going on there with Sirius over in Sweden. They might be a little bit of a dark horse in this competition. To be fair, outside Atalanta, they've beaten some pretty average teams, just like we have. This definitely is our toughest test so far, but Sirius there did beat Atalanta, so based on that, I'm kind of hopeful here that at home we could pick up a win, and that should be enough for us to make sure we make our way straight through to the round of 16. But you may notice it's only the 11th of December when we come back to this one, and game day, that is on the 12th, because the same situation that happened last year has reared its ugly head, albeit not quite to the same extent. We've got a job interview before this game, and it's a quite interesting one. Aston Villa, now they are currently struggling over in the Premier League, all the way down in 16th. So based on that, really not too keen on this. But then you check in on how they're doing in other competitions. They are taking part in the Europa League. They're top of the table pretty much in a similar situation to what we are, 2 points clear of all the other teams, and they've also already qualified for the knockout, should probably make their way straight through to the round of 16. So I suppose in that regard, it could be a little bit of a step up from what we're doing currently here with Jahn Regensburg, and they are definitely a bigger club. Their facilities, they are quite nice. The reputation is a little bit higher. Their form is shocking in the Premier League. No doubt that's the reason that their previous manager did get the sack. Who was that? It was Jose Bordalas, who formerly was the Spain manager and before then was at Getafe and Valencia. So yeah, he's now left the club after a couple of years in charge, and Aston Villa are looking for a new manager. You'll see that a job advert. They want attacking, counter-attacking football, entertaining, and also sign players under 20 for the future. A huge wage bill. It's definitely a bigger club, and to be fair, their youth system is actually proven to be quite decent as well. So we're definitely going to go and attend this interview and see what happens, because as I said, this would be a little bit, I suppose, of a step up from a team near the top of the Conference League to one who are doing quite well in the Europa League. The board extremely impressed with our performance so far at Jahn Regensburg. Been a little while since we've had a job interview now, almost a year in game. One of the reasons the boards decided to offer us this interview would be an acceptable fit for the realistic vision for the club's future, especially as we do like to sign players no older than 20. So that's the reason that they've looked at us here for this Aston Villa job. Let's see how this job interview does go. It's the Premier League. They should have quite a bit of money if they're taking part in Europe, even though they are down in 16th. Now, we'll say here that we've been building up experience with smaller clubs in preparation to go to a bigger team, because it kind of feels like now that's our career path here in the Save Buxton, the Jahn Regensburg, and hopefully now a good solid team expected to be just under the big ones here in Europe, albeit to be fair, you could argue we're already there with Jahn Regensburg the way that we are going. We've only worked with a small selection of clubs. That's because we're loyal. Some highly impressive work so far. Why do we want to move on? It's time for me to take the next step, and I think that can be here. We'll say, are we willing to assure them that we'd do a better job of meeting expectations? We've got a very good record when it does come to that. Their worst run so far of the season, could we get them back on track? I think just one or two small adjustments, aka we'll take our Buxton Basey tactic over there to Aston Villa, and fingers crossed that should work, because season preview-wise, they were expected to finish around the 8th or 9th mark, so definitely a team that we can hopefully get inside that top half of the table by the time the season does finish. Now, their director of football, Monkey, let's have a quick look at him. Yeah, he looks pretty darn good. We'll keep him there at Aston Villa. We want a fair budget, though, to make some changes to the backroom staff, just in case there's a couple who are rubbish. Now, here's the club vision. Already seen some of this from what was on the club info page before through that job advert that we took a quick look at. Also want us to work within the wage budget, sign, place, sell for a profit, long-term contracts for the younger first-team players and short ones for the older ones. That does make a lot of sense. And in terms of competitions, reach the later stages of the Europa League. They might already pass that considering how well they're doing. Finish mid-table in the Premier League, surely can do that even while they're down in 16th. Reach the later stages of the FA Cup and also be competitive in the EFL Cup. Of course, a lot more cups over there in England than Germany. We know that from our time back at Buxton, even though we were only down in League 2. And by the end of next season, they would require us to win a domestic cup. So to be fair, they want some decent success over there at Aston Villa. I think we'll say that we'll be happy with those proposals. They want a mid-table finish. We could potentially say top half, but I think we'll play things safe considering they are all the way down in 16th. Might take us a few games to get them used to how we do things there at Aston Villa. Holy cow, 89.89 million. It may as well be 90 million transfer budget. Seriously, won't these managers spend it when they're struggling? Yes, that will be absolutely wonderful. We could probably sign about 3 times the Jahn Regensburg squad in terms of quality for that amount of money, and the wage budget is just over 4 million. A completely different level. We're very happy with that. Holy cow, they've got money coming out of everywhere. So we'll see how that job interview does go. But yeah, Aston Villa could be a very interesting job. We'll see how things go. Obviously, lately, haven't been too good with interviews in the Save, and we're doing quite well here with this Jahn Regensburg team. But as I said, a bit of a step up here from top of the Conference League to top of the Europa League, so maybe that's one that we will need to consider quite seriously if we do get a job offer from Aston Villa. So that makes this first up game of today's episode against Atalanta all of a sudden quite important. If we can pick up a win over these guys, we might be quite decent here and have a good chance at the Conference League with Jahn Regensburg. If we lose to Atalanta, then probably a team like Newcastle, they might be able to beat us, so Aston Villa might not be the worst idea. So a big test for us here with Jahn Regensburg. It might have a bit of an impact on if we make a move to Aston Villa, if we do indeed get offered that job. A couple of changes to the team you might be used to. We do have Henning coming in there for dawned on a heavy workload, but also our rotation players recently in this competition have picked up some quite good form. I was quite hesitant to put them in the first team initially, but off the back of that struggle to beat Heidenheim, tried it for the Schalke game, and a couple of them did do really well. So Kamara's in there in the advanced playmaker role over Lucchini, and also we've got Landon there over Harsman in central midfield. There could be a few others as well, the likes of Lazar over Walden at right wing, but unfortunately he's on a heavy workload as well. So a couple of players from our rotation in such good form from these previous Conference League games that I actually like to pick them over our usual first choice players, but they have been a little bit tired, but certainly interesting here currently for the squad dynamics at Jahn Regensburg. We've got a lot of players in form and not the ones that you'd expect to be doing quite so well. We'll see how they go here in this Atalanta game. As I said, massive test, especially with what's just happened with that Aston Villa interview. So far, though, this game's been pretty quiet, but thankfully, we are dominating position, albeit Atalanta here are on the attack early with a free kick. And unfortunately, the player there with an orange injury, I think it's Lopez, who's been highlighted, might have pushed him in the back. And it might be a soft penalty to start this game. Indeed, it is a Sevilla getting beaten by Kukariki Stenkum. Not too sure where they were there on that table before they went up there near the top. But unfortunately, that penalty does get put away by Di Catalare. I thought there it hit the post and might have come out. That's about as close as you can get to not scoring a penalty, with it still going in. A decent touch there from the underside of the crossbar, but unfortunately he did send their Owusu Adolo the wrong way, and we do go 1-0 down. So that is not too good if these guys want us to stay, if Aston Villa do offer us that job. We're on the ball not too long off the back of that penalty that we did give away. He now starts to make his way forward. We put a ball there into the mixer, and that was almost an own goal. A good save there from the Atalanta goalkeeper. We'll just cancel the shout that we were going to do. Now we're actually getting on the front foot a little bit from the set piece. We'll see if we can pick out Ruslan. Unfortunately, we can't, but Walden will try and curve that one top right corner. Too much curve, and it goes over the bar. We'll encourage instead of demand more, because all of a sudden we are on the front foot, and now another set piece here land will pick out Ruslan. No, he won't, but still on the attack here as we can keep this ball hitting. Plays it forward to Adama Kamara in some superb form in the Conference League. He's now picked up 7 goals this season, a large majority of those in this competition, and we're not behind for too long. We make it 1-1. So thankfully, we've bounced back here in this big test for us here in the Conference League. First time at Jahn Regensburg, we've taken on a decent team in this competition. Adama Kamara makes it 1-1 at the 20-minute mark. So thankfully, we're back to being all square. He has picked up, though, a yellow card, so maybe going to take him off at halftime. We'll see. Obviously, really good bench option for him in Lucchini. But off the back of that penalty that we did give away now, starting to get on the front foot. Kamara with a free kick. It's a really dangerous spot. Can he put it away? Also good play out left, but you'd imagine he'll try and pick out here the top right corner from this free kick. Let's see if he can. No, he can't. That one comes off the woodwork, and they clear the lines. So Kamara looking very dangerous here despite being on that yellow card. To be fair, for an attacking midfielder, that's not too much of a concern, but we're looking a bit more threatening here to make it 2-1 than Atalanta are. Let's see if I've now put the curse on us here before halftime. There is a highlight, but so far keeping the ball quite well. Kamara was on the ball, does lose it, but thankfully Ruslan gets it back for us, and actually some good headed work from us there to keep hold of this one. Henning will fizz that one into the mixer, and Fernandes will pop up with a goal and make it 2-1. Off the back of that, we'll cancel again because we encourage. Let's praise instead. We've taken the lead just before halftime against Atalanta, and this would be a pretty big result if we can beat these guys with that Aston Villa job potentially hanging over our heads. But good work there again from Henning, and Fernandes can put that one away and make it 2-1. To be fair, Fernandes, another player who probably I wouldn't have started in this game because the Berkweir's been in such good recent form, but thankfully he picks up a goal here, and we take a 2-1 lead into halftime. To be fair, outside of that penalty, Atalanta have been up to nothing, and we've looked quite good. So a 2-1 lead, it does feel fair. We will play things safe here and take off Kamara, not Villarosa. That's dumb. It's Lucchini, who we do want to bring on. And also, let's make sure that we do get him to ease off tackles just before we do get into that halftime talk. But that is a pretty good bounce back from that penalty, which we did give away. So thankfully, we've got a lead here in this Conference League game. Of course, every win we pick up in the Conference League, we do get about 500k for it. So far, been a very useful top-up to our bank account here at Jahn Regensburg for not too much hard work so far, being able to put out a pretty weak team in most games in this competition. But now Fernandes picks up an injury. Let's hope that's not too serious, but Berkweir on a heavy workload can come on for him. Fingers crossed he also does not pick up an injury, but forced there into a sub that otherwise might not have made in this game. We'll see if that does prove to be a little bit of a turning point. But as I said before, Tabukwi has actually been really good for us recently in this save, especially in this competition. But first highlight of the second half does come just past the hour mark. Our new sub there in Tabukwi is on the ball, picks out Henning, who again is looking dangerous here down our left-hand side. Shocking work there from the Atalanta goalkeeper. Walden heads it back to Lucchini, who puts it away. 3-1 there. Goalkeeper has hit an absolute mare here. Henning is causing them all sorts of issues, but this really is a shocker from their goalkeeper. Comes to punch it clear, doesn't get there, and we can square it there for Lucchini. I think the goalkeeper got a decent touch on that shot as well and couldn't keep it out. And we grab a cushion goal with 25 minutes left. So all of a sudden it's looking like here we might pick up a win that should see us go through straight away to the round of 16. Now 20 minutes left here and thinking of taking off Rene Muller while he's struggling on a 6.6 for Levente Toff. Both our strikers still a little bit struggling in terms of goal scoring. So we've actually been doing quite well while they have been out of form, but that should wrap this game up. We pick out Ruslan at the near post there through Johann Regensburg. We are not much of a VAR check for that one. It's been given straight away and we make it 4-1. So Ruslan pops up with a goal and all of a sudden this definitely makes things interesting if Aston Villa do offer us that job, because we are looking like a very good chance here of going quite deep in the Conference League. Our last couple of subs, a few players dropped down to Red Hearts, Henning as well as Walden Salazar and Dawn can come on both on heavy workloads, but have been doing a decent job, in particular Neil Lazar at right wing. But making our way to the final 10 minutes, to be fair, not too sure if we need to time waste. But as I say that, it is here Atalanta who get a highlight. To Berkouillet can get a chance there to hit it clear, but unfortunately doesn't do too good a job, and Atlanta might get a chance here to try and make things a little bit interesting. Late in this game, Festa is on the attack, but thankfully takes down a shot there from a tight angle. Easy save there for Owusu Adulu, and we keep it at 4-1. But this has been a very good comeback win, very dominant against one of the teams expected to be up there in this competition. Lopez there goes looking for a stunner and nearly pulls it off. Good save there from the goalkeeper, making up for that shocker for our third goal, albeit that is looking quite costly now because since then we have kicked away. But unfortunately Atlanta are on the attack. Dawn there with a shocking back pass and Festa can score. Giveaway there from away Dawn. That makes up what the goalkeeper did for that third goal we scored through Lucchini. Some good work here from Dawn initially to win this ball off Freitas, but the back pass, not that much on it. Cuervo can't quite get in the way, and Festa beats Owusu Adulu there from a tight angle just to play things safe. It's only 2 goals. We will start to time waste frequently late on here and change our wing backs to full backs on support. Also, you might have noticed these days we're not more disciplined. That's something I've changed off the back of that Heidenheim game, and it seems to be working quite well in terms of attack. Just taking off the handbrake here with the Jahn Regensburg team now that we look semi-decent in both the league and in Europe. But that is a huge win first up in today's episode, especially off the back of that job interview we did have with Aston Villa, because that will mean we're going to make our way straight through to the round of 16 with this Jahn Regensburg team. For the first time this season, we've beaten a team who are actually a bit of a contender. Up until here, it's been pretty easy fixtures. That, though, is a quite impressive result at home against a decent team in Atalanta. Certainly, there's still some other big teams in this competition, Sevilla, but to be fair, not too sure what's going off those guys. They weren't up there inside that top 8 as we saw before. Newcastle are also looking quite threatening. That's probably the other big team that we do need to be a little bit wary of here in this Conference League, but that is a very impressive win. We've got Tromsø last up before the winter break. That should be a win as well, but it looks like we've already qualified for the round of 16. Indeed, we have the last article in the middle of our screen. So I think what we might do is, if no news has come from Aston Villa before I make my way forward to a Cologne game in the Bundesliga, we might come back and play that and see if we can keep hold of third spot. So an impressive comeback win for us there first up in today's episode, and does mean we go straight through to the round of 16 in the Conference League no matter what happens when I take on Tromsø, probably off camera depending on if we get a reply to that Aston Villa job interview that we did just have. But you can see there it does now mean Atlanta actually might be in trouble trying to make their way into that top 8 as well. So that result could be quite big, seeing as they also lost to Sirius, who, to be fair, we should probably take a bit more seriously with those 5 runs from 5, just like us in Newcastle. But we don't have to worry about it just yet. We are going straight through to the round of 16. Unfortunately, though, a serious injury in that game. Fabian Fernandes out for 6 days to 2 weeks, so it does mean that he'll miss the rest of this season before the winter break. So to be fair, it's only 2 games, and one that's important is we're about to take on Cologne here in the Bundesliga. A quick look as well at that Bundesliga table, because he've been focusing now for a little while on the Conference League and other things, but Cologne all the way down in 11th. But as you might have seen before from that homepage, this is a team that we've really struggled to beat, especially last season. They were actually quite decent this season. They're not quite going so well here. Cologne with Marcel Rapp in charge. The recent form, it's okay. They've picked up a win in the Europa League overall Antwerp, but before then, they have been struggling in both the Bundesliga and got knocked out by Mainz in the DFB Pokal. Of course, Mainz these days are down in these via Bundesliga. So the recent form, it hasn't been good, certainly not going as well as they did last season, where they did qualify for Europe a few spots ahead of us. So hopefully here can do a decent job. We'll continue to use our rotation players who did a decent job there in that Conference League game, because as I said, they're really getting some confidence from that run we're having in that UEFA competition. So we may as well keep using them while they are in form. You can see it there. Our starting lineup entirely on green rings, but a couple of changes from that first game. Mai comes onto the bench and Purple starts at left wing with Fernandes being out, but also down our right hand side, Rollins and Lazar in better form than Jimenez and Walden are. So a couple of changes to that team that beat Atalanta, but to be fair, not too many. Hopefully can continue our good form here, especially with this 4-2-3-1. To be fair, Cologne team that our analysts did say should suit a 4-4-2, but I did actually check a screen and you can go in a bit deeper detail, which I didn't realise. Looks like the 4-2-3-1 might be a little bit better than a 4-3-3 against this Cologne team. So we'll stick with it, seeing as we're doing so well here currently with this formation. Still got the likes there of Landon there in central midfield and Kamara an advanced playmaker, seeing as they are in such good form. And fingers crossed here can pick up a win. Eintracht Frankfurt, they did join us on points up in 4th. We've just got the edge over them based on goal differential. If we can hold on to 3rd, all of a sudden we're in a good spot potentially for a bit of a better European competition next season than the Conference League. But as I say, it's a dreadful starter free kick there to Cologne. They hit it down, and I think Bissek has put that one away in the top right corner. Indeed, the players, they are celebrating. They make it 1-0. So unfortunately, that is a pretty soft goal to concede. They hit it down, and Bissek indeed puts that one into the ground, into the top right corner, past the Wosu Adulo, and they make it 1-0. So to be fair, this early signs of that game where we played Gladbach, and there were lots of goals we conceded from set piece, but fingers crossed you can do something similar to what we did in that Atlanta game and find a way to strike back. But so far, it's the home team all over us here in Cologne, so it's not looking too good. Maybe might need to make a switch here, the 4-3-3 at halftime, or just see how many players out there are going poorly, because so far, it's not been a very impressive performance. We'll demand more early and see if that might get something here out of our squad. This will be a bit of a come down from that good result we picked up there against Atalanta, and we're currently in a really good pitch as well in the Bundesliga. Somewhat expected with the opposition that we're taking on all down in the bottom half of the table. But this first half has been pretty poor. Henning briefly went down to a red heart, so probably a good idea to take him off there at halftime too. And a few players further forward not doing too well, so we're going to take off here Henning, but away Dawn. Also, we'll bring on Walden for Lazar, and we'll bring on Lucchini for Kamara. So a couple of subs here just to see if we can fire these boys up here going in to the second half. If we need to change tactics, we can do that around the hour mark. We'll just see if those subs might make a difference, because recently that 4-2-3-1 with the be more disciplined turned off has been doing a good job. We've actually changed that too on the 4-3-3. But we'll tell the guys here at halftime we're not happy with how any of them are performing, because so far it's been really poor, and hopefully this might have worked. To highlight here nice and early in the second half. Lewis Walden does get a shot off there, to be fair, under quite good pressure, and the goalkeeper makes a good save with a few bodies in the way. So unfortunately, can't quite level this up yet, but Ruslan gets his hit on the end of that one and picks up his 9th of the season and makes it 1. Also, Ruslan continues to be a massive threat here from set piece. To Berkweir will pick up an assist just like he did off the bench in that game where we did beat Atalanta, and we make it 1-1 nice and early here in the second half. So thankfully that rev up has worked that we gave our boys there at halftime, and maybe going to come from behind here again, because on the ball only a few minutes off the back of that first goal we did score. Then we'll find Dawn here in a bit of space down our left hand side. Fizzes that one into the mixer, and Lucchini can put that one away at the near post. I think that was his 9th of the season as well, and he makes it 2-1. So a quick fire double. Whatever we did there at halftime, it's definitely worked. We continue to create a lot of chances here down our left-hand side. Doesn't matter if it's Hing or Dawn, both of them doing a good job as that wing back on attacking. Lucchini will come off the bench and make it 2-1. So thankfully, those subs we made and that halftime team talk has done a good job, albeit now down the other end here for a corner to Cologne. A good save there, or it came off the post, and then a block does mean we've got a corner yet again, but there was a good chance there for Cologne to make it 2 or just shy of the hour mark. Thankfully, we've just done enough there to deal with that danger, and again, they get a shot off, but thankfully, it does go over the bar. So holding on here to our 2-1 lead, but again, they do have a set piece. Ruslan heads that one clear, and to be fair now, could be a good chance for us here if we take our time to actually make it 3-1, because we're on the ball here. Land plays it back there to Owusu-Adolu, and now back out to Cuervo. Thankfully, eventually find Dawn here in a little bit of space to Berkweir up to Lucchini, who picks out Muller, and he'll pick out Rawlins in some space there down our right-hand side. That ball a little bit fortunate to get it back, but Walden plays it in there. I think again that was Lucchini has gone down. It's certainly not in a goal-scoring position, but I do think that might be given as a penalty. Indeed it is. This should be a goal which hopefully will see us come from behind and pick up all 3 points. Now, no Fernandez, so Muller here is on this penalty, but thankfully he sends the goalkeeper and Penders the wrong way and buries that one nicely to make it 3-1. So the second half has been a big upgrade on that first half. No change of tactic needed, just a couple of subs and a bit of a telling off there at halftime. We've come from 1-0 down and made it 3-1. So all of a sudden, we're looking pretty darn good here with this Jahn Regensburg team. We'll take off Rawlins off the back of picking up a yellow card for Alex Jimenez. It does mean that a highlight that was about to start does get cancelled out. And now it's Tygo Land who goes down to a red heart. Now, to be fair, we've got La Rosa left on the bench or Max Meyer. So what we could do is bring Lucchini further back, and Meyer can go forward to central attacking midfielder as he's done for us previously when back down in these Vibe Bundesliga. So we'll do that with our final sub, albeit as that's about to go through. There is a free kick here for Cologne, and yet again, we might have given away a penalty this time though for a handball. Ruslan does love to be involved, that time not too clever, so unfortunately it is a penalty. Actually, apparently it's Cuervo, not too sure why Ruslan, his name did get highlighted, but a chance here for Cologne to equalise, but thankfully their penalty gets saved. Owusu-Adolu doing really well for us here in his first season at the club. Certainly a good signing to upgrade on Lukic. We keep it at 3-1. That might be the chance there for Cologne to make their way back into this game, and they've blown it, albeit still in the attack. Good tackle there from Jimenez on a yellow card. Some quite good work there, to be fair. Not too sure if that was the best sub considering he picked one up after just coming on, but that's a big save there from Owusu-Adolu. And now with 10 minutes left, this game's a bit tighter than the Atalanta one was at the same stage. We'll start to time waste a little bit here in this game, but very happy with this comeback so far. Stats-wise, it looks like Cologne are getting FM'd a little bit, but thankfully those changes that we did make are making a difference, albeit that is pretty poor there from that throw-in that we did have, and it is now Cologne here who are on the attack. They get a shot off, it comes off the woodwork, and might be a chance for us here to do something on the counter-attack. In fact, no, that highlight does come to an end. So with only 5 minutes left, once we click the right button here, because we don't want the profile pages, we'll switch our wing backs here again onto fullbacks on support. And to be fair, not too sure if we can do too much more there in terms of roles, but a lower tempo, and we'll time waste frequently. And for the last 5 minutes, we will turn back on, be more disciplined, and see if that makes a difference. Might even score a goal here, a throw-in, just as those changes are about to go through. Lopez for there to Berkweir. A big foul on him. For some reason, though, it's not given, and Cologne all of a sudden do get in behind Bahoya, who previously has been a big problem for us here in these games we do play against these guys. Squares that one for more than roll. Now they're going to check this one for offside, surely. It was a foul down the other end, but probably too far to go back for that. They're going to give this goal. That feels a little bit cheesy, because what happened down the other end there to Berkweir looked like a pretty obvious foul not given, and Cologne go down the other end and make it 3-2. So thankfully Owusu-Adolu did save that penalty, otherwise that might have been an equaliser, but certainly that feels a little bit harsh that that passage of play was allowed to continue. They make it 3-2, so fingers crossed here are time wasting. It will work for 6 minutes of added time. Cologne stats now, they'll be filthy. They're not winning this game, There's a very late highlight here, only 20 seconds left in this one. We do have a free kick, so fingers crossed here, nothing silly, and we keep hold of the ball. Lewis Walden plays it back there. We're keeping the ball quite nicely. Walden might take on the shot, comes off the underside of the crossbar. They clear it away, but we will keep the ball from that front. So fingers crossed here, we can just find a way to make sure that Dawn takes as much time as possible from this one, and we can hopefully hold on for this 3-2 win, because we definitely have done a good job to come back here in the second half. Dawn's definitely doing what we want here and taking a sweep time. Come on, referee, let's blow this up. But Dawn is back on the ball. Can he fizz this one? Far post he can. Forces another corner here out of Cologne, and thankfully we're going to hold on and pick up a 3-2 win. Terrible first half from us there, conceding that early goal and not doing much at all. A couple of changes and a big team talk there at halftime. Just ripping into our fellas does make a difference. 3 early goals there in the second half. Can see one late through roll. That big penalty save too from Owusu Adolo. In the end, the penalty is a big factor in this one, and thankfully we come from behind for the second time in today's episode and pick up a 3-2 win. Some good jobs from us there to actually fight back and pick up some big points first up in the Conference League and make our way straight through to the round of 16. And now to pick up a win over Cologne, which should see us hold on to third spot as we head in to the winter break. So 2 good come from behind wins for us there during the course of today's episode. Atlanta in the Conference League, that one quite big against a decent team, and it sees us going straight through to the round of 16. Atlanta, as we said before, might now be in a bit of trouble, as even if they win on that final match day, they might not be able to make their way straight through to that round of 16. So far, looks like us and Newcastle, arguably Sirius as well, out of Sweden, are the big 3 in the Conference League, and also coming from behind there to pick up that 3-2 win over Cologne. We sit in third, and we've done all our work in the Bundesliga, still waiting to play the Tromsø game off the back of this, but that game has nothing running on it for us, so that's all our work done before the winter break that matters. I think still there's a couple of Bundesliga games, but we're not playing on this match day, so that's a chance there for teams to make up their game in hand. But to be fair, there's some tricky ones in there, like Dortmund versus Frankfurt, so I dare say we might hold on to that third spot, seeing as Dortmund, they are at home. But we're coming back just before the Tromsø game, because we have had a response from Aston Villa from that job interview that we did have, and unfortunately, once we click on the right inbox item, we continue to kind of suck at interviews. The board was satisfied with the plans that we put forward, but unfortunately decided that we weren't the right person to take the club for, because that man is the former Chelsea manager and Eddie Howe. So unfortunately, someone who got sacked just before that Aston Villa job did become available. Does get him, to be fair, with his experience in this save, hard to argue that he probably doesn't deserve it over us. We continue to be stuck here at Jahn Regensburg, albeit not the worst place to be with how well we're doing in each of our competitions. But now we've got about a month or so with just that Tromsø game, which I'll play off camera. So a quick update on what the rest of the job centre it does look like, because there's still a couple of jobs in the Premier League that are available. One of them is Newcastle. This one's quite interesting because Eddie Howe, if we check out the news tab, that was the guy that they were actually going for to try and get back to the club. So they now will be looking for a completely new manager. It looks like Hoffenheim's one is the guy who was in the race with Eddie Howe. Not too sure how he got an interview and we didn't, because if we check out Hoffenheim, they aren't doing super better than expected. Actually, they're doing slightly worse and have lost their last 3 games. No idea there how Danny Roll got an interview over us, but maybe that will change now that Newcastle do need to find a new manager. Maybe they'll reconsider the Hoffenheim guy after Eddie Howe has turned them down. But Newcastle will be quite interesting, obviously, with that Conference League situation. That's the only other team that have kept pace with us that I'm a bit worried might be better. So we'll see how that one goes during the course of the winter break. And also going back to the job centre as well, Chelsea are there. Now, Unai Emery is the favourite. He's pretty much a lock at this point because the bid's there. He will be going to Chelsea. It does mean, though, as you can see, that he will be leaving Napoli, and that's another big job that will become available. So far in my time playing FM, I've never managed in City Acer. To be fair, that one would be quite good. They're picking up wins too in the Champions League over teams like Ajax and Manchester City. So definitely, if they come knocking, that would be one which will be very hard to turn down, albeit not too sure how likely it is if we can't get a job at Aston Villa. And going back to the remainder of the job centre, there's also Fiorentina, which would be quite cool for the vibes, but honestly not too sure if they're that good an idea with no European football compared to us here at Jahn Regensburg. So there's definitely some interesting jobs popping up, and one more that should pop up soon in Napoli over in Syria, making our way down further. And there's not too much here on the bottom half of that job centre page. So unfortunately, we don't get Aston Villa, but to be fair, we're doing pretty well here currently at Jahn Regensburg, making our way through the round of 16 of the Conference League and inside of a Champions League qualifying spot. And also, transfer window is about to open soon. Already a couple of players unhappy with their playing time, so they are depaying the club. One of them is Onion Lukic. He'll be on his way to Mallorca. That's for a fee of 1.4 million. We might sign a replacement, albeit we do have Lingvar out on loan at Real Betis. So if you can't find anyone better than him, we might get him back to the club from that loan early. And also, there's one more that's already gone through, Moritz Buller. There were 2 bids for him, seeing as he was getting sick of us not using a deep lying forward, which is fair enough. He's off to Al Fadi for 1.2 million. So it does mean we'll get their transfer budget topped up to close to 10 million. So there might be some signings that we can make, albeit not too sure how useful they'll be in competitions like the Conference League with the homegrown situation here at Jahn Regensburg. But I think that does it for today's episode. We've picked up some good wins there on camera against Atalanta and Köln. The only downside, didn't get that job offer there from Aston Villa, which I suppose would have been a step up with the whole Europa League compared to the Conference League. But if you enjoyed that episode, then do remember to go down below, leave a thumbs up on the video, and if you haven't done so already and are enjoying the series here on the channel, also make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn that notification bell on as well. What we come back for in tomorrow's episode probably depends on if anything materializes in that job centre, if we get more interview offers like we did there with Aston Villa. But there won't be Conference League for a little while, seeing as we're already through to the round of 16. Of course, no DFB Pokal, because Wolfsburg did us in that yesterday. So I dare say we'll come back if nothing interesting happens. Eintracht Frankfurt and Bayern look quite interesting. 2 of those first 4 games off the back of the winter break. But honestly, it depends if clubs come after us here at Jahn Regensburg with some high European football than the Conference League. And if we think that's a good idea, especially if their budgets are quite similar to what we just saw with Aston Villa. So until tomorrow for Eintracht Frankfurt and Bayern, or something completely different, thank you very much for watching. Keep on keeping on, and I'll see you then. Cheers.